Hello, welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today I wanted to show you how to apply for US citizenship, also called referred to the process as naturalization. So again, as you can see, we are starting off from the uscis.gov website, which is an official site for US citizenship and immigration services. This is the main go-to website. I do not recommend to refer to really anything else out there for your immigration purposes besides this. Before we start, let me just say I am not an attorney. I'm not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice in any way. If you want to work with an attorney, I have definitely no recommendations against that. But this particular application for naturalization is definitely something that you can do yourself. It's not that hard to do. Okay, so the very first thing that you will notice if you go to forms, the very first one, N400, apply for citizenship. This is the one that you need. Before we get into the application itself, there are several different criterias that you have to meet in order to be able to apply for naturalization. First of all, you have to be a green card holder, a resident, a legal alien resident of the United States for a certain period of time, depending on how you got your green card. For most of the scenarios, it is 5 years. So let's say if you got your green card based on being an asylee or a refugee, or if you got your green card through a lottery, DV lottery, you won your green card, you have to wait 5 years before you can apply for naturalization. And if you look around, it is actually 4 years and 9 months, and then you can apply. So basically, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, they give you 3 extra months in advance to apply for citizenship, which is very nice. But if you got your green card based on marriage, then it is actually 3 years that you have to wait, only 3 years. And the same rule applies. You can apply 3 months before that 3-year process, not the process, period has expired. So here's the thing. Take your green card, your resident card, and take a look at the date when it was issued. This is the date. This is the exact date when this period starts. So 5 years from now, from that date, you can apply for naturalization. Well, not 5 years, like 4 years and 9 months. And the same thing if you're married and you got your green card based on marriage, it's 2 years and 9 months. Okay, so let's get to the application itself. The very first thing you will notice, and it's absolutely fantastic, not too long ago, it wasn't the case. They just recently edited. You can file for naturalization online, which is great, which is absolutely amazing. All you have to do is you have to create your profile with USCIS and then follow exactly the same application that we're gonna discuss right now with this application right here, which is Form N400. So let's open it up and we will go from there. Now, like I said, you don't have to print this out and fill it out. If you do it online, this is the same exact form that you will have to be filling out, so you can just follow the instructions through here. Or if you feel better, filling it out like this, printing it out, and then verifying it, for example, with an attorney, you can do that as well. Whatever really works for you best. Okay, so as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. Part 1 is probably the most important part of the application. Here you have to enter your alien registration number, which you can find on your green card. Obviously, you have to be at least 18 years of age. And here are the criteria that are required. So let's fill this out so that we have that, so that that we have to fill it out. You can fill it out on your computer, print it out, and then sign it by hand. So these things, you will see the boxes that are gray, you can actually fill them out on your computer, which makes it better. I recommend doing that just so that everything is nice and clear. So, criteria A, have been a lawful permanent resident of the United States for at least 5 years. That's for all of the cases. Asylee, refugee, DV lottery, work-based green card, and stuff like that. So this is what I would pick. Okay, the second one is have been a lawful permanent resident of the United States for at least 3 years. In addition, you have been married and living with the same U.S. citizen spouse for the last 3 years. And your spouse has been a U.S. citizen for the last 3 years at the time. So through marriage, this is the one that you would pick. C is are a lawful permanent resident of the United States and you are the spouse of U.S. citizen and your U.S. citizen spouse is regularly engaged in specific employment abroad. This is the extra one, not for a lot of people, but if you do select this, there is actually a drop down for different categories here, which we will go over in the application instructions. Okay. Qualifying based on military service. Again, if you're in the military, this is a whole complete separate category. Again, read on that in the instructions, which we will go through after we're done with the application. So, information about you. Obviously, this is going to be, all your information. Nothing really crazy to explain here. If your name is different, if there were other names that you used, your social security number, your USCIS online account number, if you have one, if you created one whenever you did this, if you want to, not necessary. Gender, date of birth, date you became a lawful permanent resident. This is the date that you can find on your green card, the date when your green card was issued. Very important. Don't put any other date. Country of birth, country of citizenship. If there are any disabilities, any exemptions from the English language test, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. Accommodations for individuals with disabilities. This is again for that interview that you will be scheduled after you file, after you submit your application. Information to contact you, information about your residence, where you live, continuation of all of that. Basically, this is the last 5 years. If you can see information about your residence, where have you lived during the last 5 years? So you have to provide all of these addresses. If you're lucky and you lived in one place all the past 5 years, yeah, you'll just need to fill out one. But if not, then you will have to fill out all of the addresses that you lived in for the past 5 years. Information about your parents, you have to enter that as well. Biographic information basically is just, your race, your ethnicity, height, weight, eye color, hair color, all of that information. Employment information and schools. If you're employed, again, last 5 years, you will have to enter all of that. Employer, school name, all of that stuff. Another very important one is Part 9, time outside the United States. For you to be eligible to apply for naturalization for U.S. citizenship, you have to have been present most of the time while you were a resident of the United States, while you had your green card. I personally heard a lot from different immigration attorneys that it is not recommended to travel outside of the United States at all during that process. Not recommended. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. You can, but it's not recommended. Even more not recommended is to travel beyond 6 months. So if you're going somewhere, you cannot stay there more than 6 months. It's not recommended. Again, doesn't mean you cannot do it. There is a process that you can follow. There are certain documents, certain forms that you can follow and do it, but it is not recommended. So, just based on that, if you're planning to do it, get your citizenship first and then do that. Don't risk. Don't take unnecessary risk because it's very important. So, here, time outside the United States, this is where you will have to provide that. How many total days did you spend outside the United States in the past 5 years? How many trips have you taken outside the United States in the past 5 years? And then you list how long you've been in which country, did trip last 6 months or more, and then total days outside of the United States. You see, they take this stuff very seriously. So again, don't take unnecessary risk. Information about your marital history, if you're married, divorced, your spouse's information. Then it goes on if you have been married more than once. Information about your marital history still goes on if you have been married more than twice, I guess. Information about your children, child 1, child 2, child 3, child 4, and then additional information about you. Have you ever claimed to be U.S. citizen? Have you ever registered to vote in any federal state? Obviously, you cannot vote if you're not a U.S. citizen. Have you ever voted? All of the answers preferably should be no. Have you ever not filed a federal state tax? No. Hopefully. Have you ever been a member of, involved in any way associated with organizations or fund, or party, club, society, or similar group in the United States or any other location in the world? Again, preferably no, and all of that sort of stuff. All of this, different parties, different associations, persecuted. Hopefully all of this is no for you. And then we go more into the security-related questions. Have you ever involved in any way with any of the following: genocide, torture, killing, or trying to kill someone? All those bad things. Hopefully the answer to all of them is no. All right. So additional information, as you can see, there will be a bunch of pages that you'll have to keep on going about that. And then the applicant statement. This is the important one because this is the one for the interview. Applicant statement regarding the interpreter. Now, do you need an interpreter, or are you proficient in English yourself? And here this is where you're gonna be stating. If someone helped you prepare this form, this is where you will put it. And then application certification. This is basically where you put your signature and the date of signature. And as you will find later, there will be for the interpreter. So if you do decide to have an interpreter for your interview, that will be scheduled after you file this. You can fill out their information here. Their name, their mailing address, interpreter's contact information, and then interpreter certification that they will have to do. And then the same goes for the preparer, whoever helped you prepare that form. There's also certification. And then you will find there is a signature at interview section here. I swear, affirm, and certify under penalty of under the law of United States that I know that the content of this form, blah, blah, blah. Do not fill this out at all. This is specifically the signature at the interview. So leave it blank. Very, very important. All of the stuff and oath of allegiance, all of these things, leave them blank in the application. Don't fill them out. They are specifically for the interview. All right, now that we're done with the application, let me go quickly over the instructions. Like I said, there isn't really anything complicated in the application. Unlike, for example, the application for green card, I think that one is much more complicated. The process is much more complicated compared to the application for the naturalization. But I definitely do recommend you to go over these instructions. Just read through the whole thing so that you know exactly what you are dealing with and exactly what the process is going to be. So a little bit about the process. After you are done with the application, after you file it, the first thing that will happen is you will be scheduled for biometrics test. And biometrics test is basically, you probably already know, if you're applying for naturalization, you probably already know what it is. It's the fingerprint and the taking of pictures in your local application support center. So nothing crazy over there. Usually it takes about 6 months before they schedule you for the interview. And once you are scheduled for the interview, they schedule you at your local field office. It's not going to be the application support center. It's going to be the local field office for immigration. They will schedule you for the interview. You will go in for the interview. You will have the conversation with the immigration officer. They will perform a short test. It's like an English test with questions regarding, U.S. history and the way the structure of the government, the way it works. We will talk about that a little bit later as well. And then hopefully, if you pass it, they will recommend you for naturalization. And once you are recommended for naturalization, once you are approved, you will be scheduled an official ceremony of where you will be performing an oath of allegiance. Basically, this is just an official ceremony where you will go. There will be a lot of other people who pass the interview, and they will be doing the oath of allegiance as well with the judge. And it will be a very nice, very official ceremony where you will read the oath of allegiance. And after you're done with that, you will receive. Sometimes it really depends on where you're doing it. Sometimes they give the naturalization certificates at the spot right there where you are taking the oath of allegiance. Sometimes they actually send those by mail after you're done with oath of allegiance. So it really depends where you're doing it. And that's it. Once you're done with your oath of allegiance, congratulations, you are a citizen of this beautiful country. And once you get your certificate of naturalization, this is the paper that shows that you are a citizen. And with that paper, you can go ahead and apply for passport, which I will do a separate video on how to, apply for a passport. So before we, jump too much into the conclusion, let me quickly go over a few things whenever it comes to the process, especially to the naturalization testing. And you will be able to read all of that in N400 instructions. I definitely recommend just downloading it here. Here it is. Here's that link. And just reading through the whole of it. Here you will find the exemptions that whenever you're not required to take that English language test, and the questions regarding the government and stuff like that. And then you will have the general instructions, the signature, the filing fee, which we will talk about, evidence that you will have to include with your application, which we will also talk about, the biometrics appointment, the copies, and stuff like that. So there will be some photocopies that you will have to submit, and of course some translations if you have some documents which are in different language. So filling out the N400, obviously print legibly in black ink, goes without saying. Answer all questions fully and accurately, definitely makes sense. Avoid highlighting, of course, crossing out. Shouldn't be doing anything that creates any confusion, okay? Make sure that everything, that's why I recommend filling everything out on the computer. Fill all of your information. You can fill out all the grayed out boxes on the computer, and then print it out with them filled in, and then sign the form. Definitely makes it much more, easier to read for the immigration officer. Okay, so here you will find on page 4 of 18 is specific instructions on filling out the application. We already went over them. But if you need to kind of refresh your memory, here you can find all of that, telling you exactly what to fill out in which item. So we're going to skip through that because we already did go over all of that stuff. And we will get to the evidence. Now, evidence is obviously the stuff that you have to send in with your application. So the first thing, obviously, is the photographs. And the photographs, let's see, usually it's 2 photographs. Yep, here we have to do 2 photographs as well. So you have to provide 2 identical color photographs. It's passport style photographs, 2 by 2, which you can get in either CVS or Walgreens, whichever really. There are a lot of different places that do those. Number 2 is photocopy of permanent residence card. That is, of course, to show when the residence card was issued. This is obviously the important one. Make sure to do a front and back. Very important, because I actually had one of my friends who filed for naturalization, he forgot to include a back of the card, which is, I mean, it's easy to forget because you don't think about why would I need to send a back. And yeah, it came back. The whole application came back. So you kind of waste your time. You know, you send the application, you wait the whole week for the application to get there, and then they spend a week to review it, and then they send it back the whole week. So like you wasted the whole month because you forgot to attach something. So make sure you spend some extra time on making sure you have everything. Okay, so photocopy of your current legal marital status documents, very important. Documents for military personnel, obviously, if you're applying based on military service, thank you for your service, by the way, you would have to include all of that stuff here in the application. Okay, so below is the list of documents to bring with you for your 400 N400 interview. So as you can see, there isn't a lot of stuff to send with your application compared to, for example, green card application, right? Much, much easier process. So yes, let's get to the interview now. What you need to bring with you to the interview, very important. So you need to bring your green card, the original, obviously, state issued identification, ID or driver license, whatever, passports, the travel documents. It doesn't matter if they're valid or expired passports. Obviously, some of us might have expired passports, especially people who are refugees and asylees who never went back to their countries where they came from. They will have expired passports. Bring them. Very important. Evidence of your current legal marital status, evidence of your termination of your spouse's prior marriages, if you divorced, name changes, if any, other documents, depending on the circumstances, certain documents you might be wanting to bring. So, spouse of a U.S. citizen. This is if you're filing for U.S. citizenship based, 3 years after you had a green card based on your marriage. This is all the stuff that you're going to need to bring. Spouses of U.S. citizen who is regularly stationed abroad. We talked about that. Children as support of dependents. Bring that stuff. Birth certificates, adoption certificates, and stuff like that. Tax returns and overdue taxes. Bring photocopies of income state return taxes just to show you that for the past 5 years too. And 3 years, of course, if you are filing based on marriage. For the 5 years, if you are filing based on all of the other categories. Just to show that you have been paying taxes and everything is good. There are no violations or anything like that. If there were trips outside of U.S., bring evidence that you maintained your continuous residence in the United States. If you have taken trips outside of the United States that lasted more than 6 months, but less than a year. What can that be? That can be the bills that you paid while you were abroad. For example, for your house, you still paid rent, you still paid electric bills, you still paid your car insurance and stuff like that. This is the proof that you want to bring to show that you maintained the residence here in the United States. It's very important. Like I said, I already recommended before. Try to avoid those trips until you get a citizenship, just in case. But if you did have those trips, try to collect as much information as possible. And it can be, bank, credit card payments, proof of car registration, insurance, and all of these things that I have listed. This is a very important section for you if you did go outside of the United States. Page 12. Okay, selective service registration. If you're a man between 18 and 26 years of age, you have to show the proof of your registration with the selective service. Selective service is the military. Basically, you can register online. Nothing too complicated. You can register on uscis.gov if you're a man between 18 and 26 years of age. All right. If you have any arrests and convictions, hopefully you don't, but if you do, you have to provide the documents that are listed here, all of the court arrest reports, all of the photocopies of charging documents, court dispositions, sentencing reports, and stuff like that. Hopefully you don't have those, but keep in mind. Okay, we are getting to the filing fee. Now, the filing fee currently, as of today, which is June 2019, is $640 and a biometric fee of $85. So $640 plus $85. Now, whenever you're sending a check with your application form, I get that question a lot. Should you just send one check for the total amount, or what should you do? I personally recommend to sending two checks. One check for $640 and one separate check for $850. I'm sorry, not $850, for $85 for biometrics fee. And specifically specify in the check form N400, in the memo on the check, and then biometric services fee, $85. Not necessary, probably will be fine if you send both of them together, but it is just what I've seen attorneys do. I've seen other people do whenever filed. They never had any problems. It's just to be on the safe side, to make sure that to show immigration services, whoever reviews your application, that here is the money for N400, here's the money for biometric services fee, just to avoid any confusion. Okay, so there are a few biometric services fee exemptions if you are 75 years of age and if you're filing under the military provision. So you can avoid paying the $85. I don't think there are any exemptions for that $640, unfortunately. But it's still not that expensive compared to, for example, a green card, where it's more than $1,000 for an application, and then you have to pay for the medical examination, which can be all the way in 1,500s. Pretty expensive. Okay, so the rejected applications, if you submit the incorrect fee or an incorrect payment method, they might reject your form. That's why I said make sure everything is very clear, very, very, nicely done. Do not mail any cash. Obviously, you probably know already because you've done so far, your green card and all the other things. But just in case, keep in mind. So, payments by check or money order. If you are paying by check, make checks or money orders payable to U.S. Department of Homeland Security. You have to spell out U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Do not abbreviate it. Very, very important. All right, so let's see what else we have. Notice to those making payment by check. If you send us a check, U.S. will convert it into an electronic funds transfer. Makes sense, just so that it's an EFT. You can also make payment by a credit card if you attach the form G1450. But honestly, I recommend just doing it by check. I think it's an easier and more reliable way of doing it. Okay, there is a fee reduction, looks like. To qualify for fee reduction, your household income must be greater than 150% and not mere than 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. You have to fill out that special form, if you want to do that. If your request for reduction fee is approved, you will pay $320 plus $85 for a total payment of $405. So there is a reduction. It's not a complete exemption from the $640, but there is a reduction if you want to do that. It looks like there is actually a fee waiver as well now, which I have not seen before. You may be eligible for a fee waiver if you believe you're eligible for fee waiver. Complete form I-912. Here's the thing, though. With these things, you have to fill out these waivers and these forms and then send them in for the application. I personally would not do that. I would personally spend $200, $300 more and not risk having this form denied and the whole application form returned just because I did not, just because I wanted to save money. It's just my personal opinion. Now, you have been waiting 5 years. Just pay the full amount and just submit the application the right way, knowing that they will accept it the moment they receive it. Yes, once they receive the application, once it is accepted, obviously you will receive your receipt number. And with that receipt number, you will be able to go to the uscis.gov website and check the case status. And by entering the receipt number over here, you will be able to check the status, and it will tell you, what's going on, if there is biometrics appointment scheduled or there's an interview scheduled, and stuff like that. And that's really it. Besides that, the only thing I would mention is whenever you go to your biometrics appointment, this is going to be a nice one because Let me grab this booklet that I have in front of me. This is going to be a nice biometrics appointment compared to all the other ones that you've done before, because everyone knows that you are applying for naturalization. Everyone congratulates you for finally reaching that point, and you will receive a booklet that is called Learn About the United States, Quick Civics Lesson for the Naturalization Test. It's a very small booklet. It's about, let's see, about 30 pages long, only 30 pages, and basically it has all of the questions, I think 100 questions if I'm not mistaken. Yep, exactly 100 questions that will be asked on your civics test, on your interview. That's the part of the examination, but don't be scared. It's not going to be all 100 questions that will be asked. It will be only 10 out of those 100 questions. Now, I will do a separate video on that civics test, so definitely subscribe. I will be uploading it within the next few weeks. Again, don't be scared of it. The questions are very simple. There's nothing too complicated. For example, the question number 27, in what months do we vote for president? November, obviously, you know. So it's very simple questions, very simple answers, most of them, that you can go over and memorize most of these 100 questions, and then obviously, you know, 10 out of those 100 questions will be asked at your civics test. So, good luck with that. Congratulations at reaching this point. This is the final point, the very important point. Finally becoming a U.S. citizen. This is, you know, absolutely amazing. It's really, the excitement that you get whenever you reach that point is just, you know, after all of these things that you had to go through, it's just amazing. So congratulations. If you have any questions regarding this process, you can definitely let me know in the comments below. While I'm not an attorney or anything, and this is not a legal advice, I will try to answer as much as I can and help out as much as I can. Like I said, definitely subscribe, because more videos will be coming this way. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.